Okay, we're continuing our football club history series. We're looking at the history of Huddersfield Town Football Club, a very interesting football club considering they are based in rugby league country. What is interesting is their late date of foundation, their late joining into the Football League, and then the 20s, where they are the dominant side of English football for a 5-year period, and then their dominance suddenly stops. The importance of Herbert Chapman as manager and as an innovator to the game for that club, and the fact that they're the first English club to win 3 league titles in a row, and and their importance to the game at that time. Look at the dominant eras of clubs when clubs are the dominant club. They're very cyclical. So Manchester United in the early Premier League era, for example. Man City now, for example. Liverpool in the 70s and 80s. Very, very cyclical. Wolves in the 50s. Huddersfield were dominant in the 20s, and this is a very cyclical thing. You'll see a dominant club for a period, and then the dominance ends, and then another club becomes the dominant club. So let's have a look at Huddersfield Town, and let's have a brief look at their history and the importance of that 1920s period, where they win 5 trophies in 5 years, and then suddenly the winning stops, and it is very, very key that Herbert Chapman, the season after he leaves, they win the league again, and then they haven't won since. And it is a really interesting history. They've not been outside the Football League since they joined, but they did spend a 45-year period outside the top flight before they had their 2 seasons in the Premier League not that long ago, until they got relegated in 2019. They finished 3rd last season in the Championship, narrowly missing out on automatic promotion. Obviously, they got knocked out in the playoffs, so they're not in the Premier League this season. So they're doing another season in the Championship. I think they have a very good chance of getting out the Championship this season and carrying on that momentum and getting back to the top flight. Now, their nickname is the Terriers. They adopt that nickname as late as 1969, but the club itself is founded as late as 1908, and there's a key reason for this, very key reason. Huddersfield is the birthplace of rugby league. 1895, the RFL is formed in Huddersfield, and the Rugby Football League, as it was then known, breaks away from what is now the RFU and Rugby Union, and it's rugby league country. Much like Leeds and Bradford, who we've done videos on in this series, they're the other big Yorkshire club that plays in rugby league country, and all these clubs are formed relatively late compared to the clubs in Lancashire and what is now Greater Manchester, Lancashire and Merseyside, and the West Midlands that form the Football League. They're from Yorkshire, they're rugby league country. It's the rival code, and so they're already on the back foot with the dominant sport being the oval-shaped football called a rugby ball. But very, very quickly, they become a very, very successful side. Within 11 years of joining the Football League, they're already in, well, 12 years technically, but 11 years from formation. That season, they're playing in an FA Cup final and winning. So let's have a look at their history. So they're founded in 1908 and they joined the Football League in 1910. They currently play at the Kirklees Stadium, formerly the John Smiths, and they've been there since 1994. Currently has a capacity of 24,121 all-seater. It's a fantastic, fantastic stadium. It looks younger than it actually is. The fact that it's 28 years old is quite stunning. I thought it was actually younger than that. It's a fantastic looking stadium. Beautiful looking stadium, but it's nearly 30 years old. Now, they are the first English club to win the league title 3 years in a row. So what Man City have been doing, or what Liverpool did and Man United have done in the past, this was the first club to win 3 in a row. So that is a piece of history you cannot take away from this club. And 2 of those trophies, in fact most of their silverware apart from 1 league title, came under the management of Herbert Chapman. And I will do a video on him because he's an innovator of the game. And he leaves a massive impact on English football, Herbert Chapman. Fantastic manager, and I'm definitely going to do a video on Herbert Chapman and his impact on English football. Absolutely have to do it. Now, between 1972 and 2017, so 45 years, they're outside the top flight. That is their longest spell outside the top flight. Before 1972, they'd never been outside the top flight since they got promoted there very early on in their history. And that is a very long dry spell. And they only spent 2 seasons back in the top flight before entering the second tier again. So it's been a lack of success in more recent years. Now, their trophies, and this is really stunning. The 20s was Huddersfield Town's decade, especially the early 20s, the first half of the 1920s. They were the best side in England by some margin. Really fantastic state of honours, although 1 league title they did win by basically goal difference. or how they worked out what is now goal difference, the former system. They win by goal difference. So there was a very tight title race in one of these years. So they win the Division 1 title in 1923-24 season, the 1924-25 season, and finally in the 1925-26 season, the season after Herbert Chapman has moved on. So only one piece of silverware after their magic manager Herbert Chapman moves on. They also win the FA Cup in the 1921-22 season as well, and of course they win the Charity Shield in 1922. That is an impressive period of dominance. It's a very short period of dominance, but it's an impressive period of dominance because no other club could I mean, they were pretty much the best team in England for that 5-6 year spell. It is ridiculous the silverware they bring to Yorkshire. And unfortunately, Herbert Chapman leaves. They win one more league title, and then it stops. And they haven't won anything since 1926. The funny thing is, what I find really interesting is they've never won the League Cup, and they have never won the Football League trophy either. So they're the two honours domestically that they are missing from their collection. So they've won the top flight, they've won the FA Cup, they've won the Charity Shield, but the two honours they are missing are the League Cup and the League Trophy. And not every club has that full house, so to speak, of all the domestic honours that you can compete for in the top floor, well, within that top four league pyramid. And that I find really stunning because they have been in the third and fourth tier, but they've never won a Football League trophy. I find that absolutely outstanding. They never won a League Cup. I find that quite interesting as well. But it is a fantastic period of dominance, and obviously tougher times were ahead, especially after the 1971-72 season. They went up and down the divisions, but between the second and fourth tier, but they've never been relegated out of the Football League. They've had some dark days and some poor seasons in that time, and then in 2017 they get promotion back to the Premier League. They have 2 seasons back in the top flight, and first season was pretty good, second season not so good, and it happens. Sometimes you do get that second season syndrome, and they slip back down to the second tier, but they're a pretty solid championship side. As I say, they finished third last season, narrowly missing out on automatic promotion, which would have been a fantastic achievement to get out the championship, which is known to be a pretty notorious league for difficulty to get back out of, and some clubs continue to slide down the divisions, which is what happened to Huddersfield in the 70s, 80s and 90s, and the 2000s. They really bounced around the lower leagues, and that lack of stabilising in the league for a period of time has cost them. But as I say, fantastic period, the 1920s. Much like Wolves in the 50s, a very dominant side 30 years earlier. It was Huddersfield doing what Wolves did 30 years later, just having those league titles, and the first club to win 3 in a row is fantastic. Their main rivals are Bradford City and Leeds United, also in rugby league country as well, which is a very interesting thing. Now, Bradford less successful, Leeds slightly more successful, but Huddersfield were the first of the Yorkshire clubs to really give it a go. Yes, you've got Sheffield Wednesday and Sheffield United as well, who've also won a fair bit of silverware in their time, but Huddersfield showed the Yorkshire clubs how to do it, and I think scared the living daylights out of the clubs from the West Midlands and Lancashire, going, look, we're just as good as you, even though the main sport is rugby league. So there you go. There's a brief history of Huddersfield Town. I will be doing a video on Herbert Chapman at some point. He's a very interesting character. He was an innovator in the game in the 20s, and he left an imprint on how the game is now played. An innovative coach, came up with some new ideas, and that led to 3 consecutive league titles. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully Huddersfield Town are back in the Premier League at some point in the next couple of seasons. I think they have a very good squad, and I think they have the capability of doing it this season possibly, or even next season if they build in the right direction. It's going to be tough. The Championship is now a very difficult league to get out of, much like the National League and the non-league is very difficult to get out of and get away from. It can be a league where you can get stuck in the grind and struggle to get back to the promised land. But Huddersfield Town, fantastic club, fantastic history. And of course, they had to battle against rugby league, and in rugby league country, when you are the secondary sport, it's very hard to do. And Huddersfield defied the odds in the 20s and showed rugby league how it's done. And Huddersfield Giants haven't been the most successful club in rugby league. Huddersfield Town showed, Yorkshire, hey, football can be a sport that you can get behind as well. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.